Okay, this is a video tutorial about how to do key mapping in Lightroom. Okay, Lightroom is open. I have a random collection of wedding images we shot. I picked them just out of the folder, so there's no guarantee that they're any good or anything like that. First thing you need is a key mapping software. I use pFixer. So I have it up here. And basically, what I can do is I can map my keyboard out so that I can edit without using my mouse over here. So if I open the preferences, mappings, and you can literally map every single thing in Lightroom. And you can do it with any key, keyboard, MIDI controller, all these different things. So there's tons of different options. You could use a couple keyboards. You could do really anything you want. For my editing, I only have a few things mapped out that I use all the time. But as you've seen here, I mean, you can do develop presets, mapped out. You can do brush presets. I mean, there's everything. Every single thing in Lightroom that you can do, you can map out to a particular key or combination of keystrokes on your keyboard. Also, your trackpad or anything else you're using like that. Also, MIDI boards, etc. I don't use a MIDI board because I think it takes a little bit more time having to move your hands around if you were going to use something like something with sliders on it or something like that, like you'd use for mixing audio stuff or whatever. So I don't do any of that. But anyway, that's kind of beyond this. So we'll just talk a little bit about what I do here. So I'm going to close this out. I'm going to pick the first photo here, go into the develop mode. The software is going to basically bind itself to Lightroom so that as I make keystrokes, it knows what's going on. Okay, so it's done. So now I can continue on with what I want to do here. The nice thing about this also is that if you are wanting to do other stuff on the computer, when you minimize Lightroom or go to a different window, say Facebook, the key mapping software will automatically shut itself off so that you can type and do things normally. There won't be anything weird going on. And then when you bring Lightroom back up, you can keep going. Occasionally, because computers are computers, things will get weird and you'll have to basically go up here and reinitialize the binding, which will essentially redo the binding in Lightroom so that the things work right again. But that doesn't happen often, but it is what it is. So we can go down here and I'm going to open up the Kindred presets. I don't normally use these on my photos, but I'll use them now. So we can go ahead and slap one on, and then from here I can control everything with my keyboard. So I can automatically put the crop on. I can do the cropping with my right hand with the mouse, and on my left hand I can control everything via the keyboard. So you can see I'm making changes to the temperature on this particular photo. Temperature. I can do exposure control, contrast, way down, way up, and I can do all these things without shadow highlight. So I can do all this without having to move my hand at all on my keyboard. It stays all in the same spot. Now, there's some stuff down here that I don't really ever touch, or you can build into a preset that you're going to use all the time. Sharpening, noise reduction, all this other good stuff. Generally, I would say that you probably are not going to have to make too many HSL adjustments all the time, so you don't need to map that. You might just need to make one on one photo and then copy and paste it on. If you had kind of a weird lighting situation going on or some casting or something like that. Same thing with the split toning or the camera calibration, stuff like that. So most everything you need to do, you can basically just map out and on your keyboard and do with one hand without having to move anything. And then as I go along here, so this photo's done, I select more, copy, paste, and then I can move on, and I can go back and forth between photos very quickly, and I'm basically only limited by how fast Lightroom works. And it doesn't quite work as fast as I want it to, but such is life. So I can continue on here and make adjustments, and I can do them so quick that you're not even going to be able to see what's going on. And so this is how fast we can edit photos here. So I can crop and be making adjustments all at the same time if I want to, and then continue on copying and pasting and such things like this. So, you know, we can go right away quick and do these things as fast as possible. And then continue on here. That one looks good, that looks good. This one we want to crop a little bit. Okay, that one we can crop a little bit. Okay. So basically, you can speed up yourself a ton by not having to move your hands around or your mouse really around at all except to crop. I wish there was an easier way to crop with a trackpad or something, but I haven't really found a way to do it yet. So it kind of is what it is, but you can, if you get a good mouse that works right, you can kind of do things pretty quick like this. Okay, keep going here. We'll do that, there. Okay, continue on. So you can pretty much fly through these, and you can make, you know, the minor adjustments you need to make very quickly. Now these photos also were just randomly picked, so they are not in order. So if I was doing this, you know, you might have a ton of shots like this here where they're doing their first look. So you could continue and copy and paste settings and only have to make very minor adjustments as you went along. You wouldn't have to be making such drastic changes like I'm having to make on some of these here because they're not all closely spaced together. I just randomly picked these out of the raw file folder that I had, so some of them are not quite the same type of shot all the time. But that's the basic kind of gist of things as far as key mapping goes. There's a bunch of different softwares that will do this. The goal is basically just to save yourself as much time as possible with movements, because even moving your hand across a board or using your mouse to go back and forth between settings on the Lightroom panel over here, the edit panel, you're going to be wasting precious seconds that you could be doing something else, you know, more productive or something like that, or spending time with your family. So this is essentially, I'm not sure why that didn't paste. This is essentially key mapping, and then we can go through and make adjustments like that. There's a little bit too much red here, so that one I'll adjust. I'll fine tune myself, and then continue on copying these settings. And keep going. And eventually you'll get the hang of it so that you can make slight changes like those last two photos of the flowers. I bumped the exposure up one click each one. You didn't even see it happen. Okay, here's a good one. I picked a blurry one. I made the changes so fast that you really couldn't even tell that they happened. I just knew it needed to go up one. So I changed it and then continued on to the next photo and let Lightroom kind of lag behind because it's stupid and won't do things as instantly as I want it to do it. So these, same thing, I'm kind of just making slight adjustments on very quickly. And then as I go along here, I can continue doing that. And everything else. And I edit for 35 or so clients full time. So I do not have any of my presets mapped out because I don't have enough space on my keyboard to map all the, oh, here's another good one, blinker, to map all of the different presets that I use for everybody. So I just leave those over here and do that the old-fashioned way, just clicking them and turning them on, and everything from over there, and then continue on over here. But you could technically map out different presets on different keys, and then be able to cycle through essentials, or technical or Fuji or whatever you wanted to, really quick if that's what you use all the time, or a black and white preset, or whatever you kind of want to do. And that, as we go along here, is essentially it. So that was 69 photos in a few minutes, and that's key mapping.